Hi everyone. This is the first session of our DARTE series online. The DARTE series started with discussions between Nina Siedler and Joachim Schwerin back in 2023, where we have a lot of discussions about how to support the industry by bringing together experts, not to have education sessions, but actually to solve the key questions when it comes to regulation. We have been running events for already a year and a half, mostly in Europe, but this year we decided to expand. And we have some events already in Buenos Aires, London, Brussels, and all the European capitals, mostly all. And we decided also to go online to just share the information and the knowledge broadly. And for the first season of these webinars, we decided to focus on a hot topic not only in Europe but globally, which is anti-money laundering regulation. And for this session, we have the support of AML Incubator, and that's what we decided to have the first episode with Tigran, his CEO. I forgot, as always, to say my name is Mariana Roche, and I'm here with Nina Siedler and Tigran. Tigran, would you like to start, like maybe saying a couple of words about you and what do you do in AMLE?
Yeah, of course. Well, first things first, thank you very much for inviting us. Very happy to be here and contribute. As you have mentioned, yes, I'm Tigran. We are based in Canada, and we found a company called AML Incubator. We call ourselves AMLI. I don't remember where that nickname came from. I do believe one of our partners called us just to make it easier, and this kind of sticked. Everyone knows us as AMLI. AMLI is a fractional compliance outsourcing firm. However, it's like full fractional compliance outsourcing firm. We do help reporting entities establish themselves with compliance, with the position to growth and success. We do take companies' AML programs and we develop it to the point where it's a strategic advantage rather than a cost-bearing department. We do have different types of services globally, some of them with MSB registrations related in Canada, USA, and other countries. We assist with developing custom programs, AML programs. We do help with remediation instances where different companies do have regulatory non-compliance issues. We come, we put the fires down, and more. We are pretty not small anymore, I would say. We do have, I do believe, 14 people as of today, 14 and growing. Okay. And yeah, we have recently came out of the shadows. What that means is we used to work on the background. Usually, we never advertised ourselves. Never we did any paid advertisement or anything like that. In the past, 99% of our clients came through referrals. And now we came out of the shadows. And one of the reasons I started participating in these podcasts and being there is this: like, we're ready to put some shine on our company and tell everyone about our success and talk about it as much as needed. That's that about AMLI. Also, I have been doing this within the last, I think, 12, 13 years, I would say. I came from through the traditional finance, ended up in cryptocurrency somewhat accidentally. Was a relatively good consultant at the bank and was talking about cryptocurrencies, bragging about it all day through. And the community knew here in Canada, and then I was invited to build a program for crypto and crypto compliance to do it. And this is how I end up at some point having our firm born out of unmet need of a talent that we have in Canada, and then we went global. So that's pretty much it. Let me know if you have any more follow-up questions. Would love to answer them.
We will have a lot of questions for you today. I think that is the natural part also, like what you just mentioned, of like going from the traditional finance and getting in contact with crypto and getting more interested. I think that that happened to many people in the industry and they will relate to the story. I want to talk a little bit more about Canada because the idea of the series is to share knowledge and understanding from like different regions. So I would like to understand a little bit, where does Canada stand with the Financial Action Task Force, and where do you believe, or to what extent, it falls a little bit short?
Yes, of course. Well, first things first, Canada has been a member of FATF since its early years and generally aligns with AML and ATF frameworks with FATFA's global standards. It also participates in FATF's mutual evaluation, typology studies, and recommendation setting processes. Now, the legal framework is embedded in the Proceeds of Crime, Money Laundering, and Terrorist Financing Act here in Canada as a backbone of Canada's AML/ATF regime. It incorporates all the requirements such as CDD, suspicious transaction reports, registration, record keeping, and so on. It does align with FATFA mostly, I would say. Now, when it comes to crypto, Canada actually was among the first countries to mandate the crypto MSB registration. Now, I do believe it was in 2020, and it addressed the core requirements such as travel rule and other guidances. And more so, Canada began supervising crypto transaction under our anti-money laundering laws even before FATF's 2019 crypto-focused updates. Now, as I have mentioned, that we do participate in mutual evaluations. Are there any gaps that we are aware of? Of course, they are. And I would say that based on my personal opinion, if you don't have these gaps, that means that you're not properly really transparent with FATF. In Canada, specifically, based on my knowledge, there are several gaps that has been raised by FATF. One of them is the beneficial ownership and transparency. Until recently, Canada lacked the federal beneficial ownership registry, and FATF reviewed that as essential. Okay, and now it is in development. Also, or I don't know if you heard of it or not, but we have insane real estate costs in Canada. It looks like a bubble. Okay. So right now I'm sitting on a property that probably, I don't even know how much this property costs today. Not the building that I'm sitting in, just the land underneath of it. It's very expensive, and people looked into the Canadian real estate as a tool for parking illicit funds at some point, which is not anymore justified, I would say. Canada has been criticized for weak controls around the real estate and how that can evolve from the integration stage of money laundering, so to speak, especially in the British Columbia, where I'm actually located. So that's another problem that we have, that we got a feedback by FATF. Another one is the inconsistencies of the provincial coordination. This is another pain point that I would like to mention. In Canada, we do have overlapping regulators. So we have federal regulator, then we have provincial regulator, and sometimes they have overlapping regulation that does not really work. Okay. In summary, Canada is broadly compliant with FATF's 40 recommendations, but its historic weaknesses in enforcement, transparency, and interprovincial and Canada-wide coordination have been acknowledged both internally and externally as a gap.
I think that is a shared problem across the
Yes.
globe. I think
Yeah.
the lack of enforcement is something we experience all over the world. Maybe that's due to the lack of funding for the police and enforcement officers. So yeah, that's certainly something that we should work on. Maybe to share for our global audience, MSB is money services business, right? Because
Past
that's a specific Canadian terminology. And as I understand, money service business also captures transferring crypto, right?
Correct.
All right. So maybe after having gained a little bit insight of how the Canadian law compares to the FATF guidances, why do you think that Canada is a jurisdiction of interest for crypto?
Um, that's a good question. Let me put it this way. Canada offers something rare in crypto. I do believe, from my perspective, working globally with many regulators, I can say that we do have regulatory clarity here in Canada. While not perfect, we have defined paths for companies reporting entities in crypto through registration through our regulator, which is the Financial Transaction Reports Analysis Center of Canada, FINTRAC it's called, and securities oversight through different regulator, provincial ones like Canadian Security, CSA, I think it's called, OSC, Ontario Security, Ontario Security Administration. What's the OEC stands for? God. Ontario Securities Commission, sorry, Ontario Securities Commission, and so on. We do have a political stability, top tier tech talent. As you know, ETH was created by Canadian Waterloo. Binance's CEO is Canadian. We did have the first Bitcoin ETF in the world. And you, on top of it, get the jurisdiction that's both compliant and competitive. So, for global layers looking to enter North America, Canada is a logical and an attractive launchpad. Not only North America these days already, even if you are looking to getting your feet into a other jurisdictions like Europe, people would still use Canada as a launchpad where their headquarters would be. Okay, so you come into Canada, you open a money services business. You might not even have a Canadian client, but you would work worldwide. On top of it, I don't know if you remember this case about McDonald's, but when McDonald's was trying to open a branch in Russia, they said, hey, you're a US company, you shouldn't be opening it here. We don't want to work with you. They still kind of did it. Do you know how they did that?
Nope. Tell us the story.
Canadian McDonald's did it, not the US. So Canada is still one of those friendly jurisdictions that has a friendly image. Subject for rebate, I will be very honest with you. Me as a Canadian, I can confirm that. But yeah, you do have that image of a country where you're friendly. You don't really have a lot of enemies. It's easy to maneuver when it comes to different jurisdictions. Canadian passport is really strong. And that is why it's one of the reasons why a lot of companies do find Canada as the launch pad for crypto businesses.
Well, you said it's the same situation now with the US, for example.
Right now, it would be yes, exactly. Tell you more so. A lot of companies that was coming to Canada before political change in USA, the main reason for them to come to Canada was to enter US. Okay. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. It's closer to the border. As you know, 80% of Canadians lives within 20 kilometers of the border of the USA. Me, sometimes I drive to US to eat chicken wings and come back just because it's better there. But that's pretty much this is how it is. And I agree with that notion 100%. Yes.
That's interesting. So I wonder if you watched a little bit the development with Mika in Europe and the reverse solicitation rules tightening there. So I guess your clients are also thinking about ways how to actually keep going with their global business. Did you do any step regarding Europe so far?
Very good question, Nina. Thanks for asking. First things first, we have an uptick of European companies decreasing regulatory burden for themselves, just shutting down their headquarters in Europe and coming to Canada. We do have that. Okay, just an FYI. Now, reverse solicitation, not reverse solicitation. I haven't digged into that much to the degree, but I do know that the main pain point of a money services business is maintaining an account at the bank. Okay, you can have it
I can
with
confirm that.
Canadian MSB can get you a bank account in Europe.
Okay, that's an interesting twist.
So, yeah, again, like it happens, it does. Since last year, I do believe we had an influx of about 3,000 businesses.
Yeah, unfortunately, I also experienced that in my practice that a lot of crypto businesses actually moved out of Europe last year, which is a pity. But it's good to see that there are like serious countries giving them a new home, because we also see a lot of tiny little offshore jurisdictions taking over, which is maybe not the best take. Yeah, so what are the initial steps to start a money services business in Canada?
But thank you for asking that. This is important for us to mention. At the AML Incubator, we do have free consulting. So if you have any questions aside from the information that I will provide today, kindly reach out to us. Very easy to find us. It's just you put amlincubator.com and you can contact us. However, it's very simple. You just need to either register your existing company in Canada or open a new company in Canada and register it with FINTRAC as a first step. FINTRAC is the Financial Transaction Reports Analysis Center of Canada, the primary regulator regulating money services businesses and reporting entities. Cryptocurrency businesses, foreign exchange dealers, dealers of virtual assets, money transmitters, payment service providers, crowdfunding platforms, all of these business activities fall under the FINTRAC regulatory scope. Additionally, you need to register with the Bank of Canada if you are involved in a PSP activity, which is another, you need to allocate another full webinar for that one. But that's pretty much it. Now,
may I quickly ask, is it
yeah.
simply a registration, a mere registration, or do they need to file for a license or authorization?
I don't know what that one is. It is a registration. You might not register because you don't have a sufficient case, so to speak. Okay,
Okay.
if you are in a business where you would be operating something that is not under the scope of the FINTRAC, and or you're involved in different other activities like lending, like securities offering, IPOs, ICOs, any other new technology that is pretty much cool as it sounds, you might need to register with other regulators in Canada. However, this one is a registration. So important. If you see someone saying, I have an MSB license in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
okay, they don't know what they say. We don't have a license. We
All
have a
right.
registration.
Okay.
It's not a license, it's a registration. So if someone is selling an MSB license in Canada, it's wrong. Don't buy it. Okay, so it's not okay. It's a registration, and you register. That would allow you to conduct this activity that I have mentioned to you. So you would be able to do foreign exchange dealing, money transferring in and out of Canada. You would be able to do a virtual asset related activity. You would be doing crowdfunding if you choose to. You can do a PSP activity. You can technically be a payment service provider for even crypto companies, other crypto companies, right? So that's what it is. Now, the steps are pretty simple. After you have your company, you just go and you register with the relevant authority. You put in your application, you answer a lot of questions, you prepare the documentation, you're done. And then you wait. Once your registration comes back, you just need to make sure that you meet your obligations with the regulator, having all several pillars of known things and obligations that you have that you need to meet: record keeping, transaction monitoring, effective risk assessment, written compliance program, training, effectiveness review every 2 years, a competent compliance officer that would be running all of this to you, because you might be audited. And if you are audited and you do not meet, or you fail pieces or a full program, you might be paying a penalty of up to $2 million and 5 years of imprisonment.
I was just like saying that it seems that from the like internal policies in the requirements that you are like highlighting, those are quite similar to what MiCA requests, but the process is much simpler to acquire, or like to do the registration or acquire the license, right? So that like at the superficial level, it seems like it goes in the same direction, but the Canadians try to just make it as easy as possible, right?
Barriers to entry is significantly laxed compared to MiCA, but it is as heavy as MiCA or more to meet your obligations. I'll tell you more so. Majority of the firms, if they don't know what they do, they would fail. Okay,
Okay.
they will fail. In Europe, it's different. It's just very difficult to get in. Okay, in Canada, it's not like that. It's easy to get in. Sure, you got in, but you're expected to have a program. Your company can be used as a weapon within the hands of an illicit actor. You need to make sure you protect the public, your company, and your employees from unforeseen circumstances like illicit actor using your platform, your
So it's
coding.
easy to get in, but then there's going to be an expected audit that is going to actually be more strong, and it will enter to just review all the policies and processes in depth, or the audit can only come if there is a suspicion. And with that, I also like think that I opened the door for Nina to start to just like talk a little bit more about the effectiveness of certain regulations. But just briefly, can you explain like how actually like works? Like, so I register, and then should I expect an audit, or how does it work?
You need to always be ready for one. It might come within 2 months, it might never come. Okay, but if it comes, you're expected to be ready. Okay,
And time,
so we
we
have.
saw, yes, we
Go
saw
on.
in Europe very much that in countries which are deemed to be more relaxed and more easy as an entry point, that a lot of players last year actually tried to build companies, shell companies with basically no business, but registering them so that they can be under the grandfathering rules of MiCA. Do you have a similar business of people like creating shell companies with ready-made registrations and selling them? And would you recommend that as a pass into Canada?
Yeah, that's a very good question. That's one of my pains right now that I'm dealing with. Yes, we are having that problem right now. However, the problem not was not created because of the grandfathering, but rather than for the speed of registration. Okay, so a lot of companies do require MSB registration to get into the country and to get the registration to start the operation. Sometimes our regulator here in Canada might take 6 months to approve the registration.
Okay.
This had created this whole dark side of MSB, shelf MSB business, where they would register like 15 of them and they would be selling it.
Yeah.
Needless to say, registration with the regulator here in Canada, FINTRAC specifically, is free.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
that's an
okay,
interesting
that's a big
information.
difference.
Okay. You don't pay. Okay. So,
Uh-huh.
and I explicitly say this, this hurts Amily's business because we charge. Okay, I want you to know that at the AML Incubator, we do charge when we are engaged to do this for a client. However, we explicitly advise them this is free. You just need to know how to do that. Registration is just a piece, one
Yeah.
small piece. Okay,
Yeah.
after registration, you're expected to meet the standards of a money services businesses. It is very important. If you don't, you would be having two problems. Number one, you won't get banking. You won't be able to operate. Okay. Number two, if you get audited and the regulator finds deficiencies, you would be having a lot of problems, including but not limited to imprisonment, massive fines, administrative monetary penalties, and so on.
Okay. So while the entry is easy, you should nevertheless take the obligations arising from the successful registration very serious. All right.
Yes.
We got that. Thank you very much for this overview. And I have a personal question that I'm very much interested in. What do you think about the travel? Does it actually add value to the fighting against financial crime, or what is your stance on that?
Generally speaking, yes. Yes. However, if it's crypto centric, let's discuss it.
Okay. So
Okay,
what do you
so
mean by let's discuss?
uh, travel rule originally established requiring reporting entities to share personally identifiable information about the sender and the receiver of the funds when transactions exceed certain threshold. Traditional finance, it makes sense. Cryptocurrencies, it not really. Okay. I will tell you why, and this is my own opinion, by the way. A lot of experts and friends and within the community might disagree with me, but traditional finance has banks and wire services that can easily exchange user information. In contrast, in crypto, this can occur peer to peer without any intermediary, especially when it comes with the new tech that we have. I'm talking DeFi platforms. I'm talking about all of the wonderful technology that we have that keeps your pseudonymity. Okay. And travel rule obligations are obsolete, I would say. Look into it this way, okay? Um, Blockchains like BTC, ETH, Solana, they are designed by itself to be anonymous. Okay, so addresses are visible but not linked to real world assets. Without off chain KYC data, it is difficult or close to impossible to determine the parties behind the transaction. Okay, so I'll give you an example. If I have a travel rule obligation today with the platform that I use, me being savvy, a crypto user, I would simply use my own ledger wallets or own DeFi wallets before I send any money to anyone. And whenever you would be asking me, where am I sending this to? I would be saying that I'm sending it to myself. Okay. And
I
then
mean,
I
like
can do.
that's how it's
I
only
mean,
working right now, right? Like you send to a self-hosted wallet and then you send to your CASP and it's just coming from your self-hosted wallet directly, right?
correct. That's problem number one. So there are like as many benefits as it gets you the travel rule. You have as many ways to circumvent the travel rule if you wish to, without being a sophisticated actor. What that means is you don't need to be super savvy
Guys,
to
wait.
figure it out. Yeah, as I was saying, that's problem number one. Problem number two is the lack of centralized intermediaries. We don't have it, right? We don't have one centralized place that would be able to do this. Um, Another problem that I do see is that different countries interpret and enforce the travel rule differently. I'll give you an example. In Canada, we have a travel rule. In Europe, we do have a travel rule. We don't have one in BVI. Okay. So to decrease the regulatory burden, companies would choose a jurisdiction with the minimum supervision and would juggle. In AML compliance, we call this a regulatory arbitrage.
Yes.
So you would be simply using that as a as a reason for you to not to comply with travel rule, unless just to sum it up, um, unless you have a more adoption, one unified um, um, one unified regulator when it comes to travel rule, and every jurisdiction is on board with you, it would be partially effective. Right now, I do believe it is not that effective. Enforcing travel rule is the first step. All of my clients had the headaches with it. I had the same conversation with probably 15 CEOs as to what we needed, and how is it going to be enforced. I do have a problem. I can really share that even though we meet the obligation with the regulator in majority of the countries, I don't know what that data would be useful for. I don't
Mhm.
know what to do with it. Okay, so yes, you have it, but there is no way for us to verify it. Okay,
Yeah.
and when I look into the analytics, majority of the people simply lie. Okay, so
I guess specifically those ones who want to hide, right?
Or simply that they don't want to share their data. Like I wouldn't just like assume that it's bad, right? But like I mean, the issue is that when we talk, and I think that this is where the question of like how effective it is if we are impacting the privacy rights, but to try to prevent money laundering. But at the same time, we are not successful in doing so, then why are we not exploring different solutions that might be more effective instead of just like creating this like safe security, but just providing HMAS data and getting data from everyone without actually not being able to do something with the data, right? So just maybe because you have so much experience on these topics, just a follow-up question on this. What will you say, and also considering the technologies that we have right now, and for the technologies that we're trying to regulate, do you think that there is any more effective way to prevent and fight money laundering that is not just with data collection of absolutely every transaction we have on chain?
um, to be quite honest, but yes, there is. I can't really. We shouldn't be saying that. Okay, we shouldn't be explicitly advising this to everyone. This podcast can be reviewed by illicit actor too. It is in works and it is being implemented to fight money laundering. Okay, what I can say is the following: that we do need to continue what we do. Okay, as is.
You
Uh,
mean compliance work or
Compliance work. Compliance professionals are as important as accountants and lawyers today.
Totally. No, and that's not what I was actually like trying to say. What I was saying is because there is data that shows that TFR and some of the money laundering regulations that we have right now are really not making the change or the impact that we thought that they will be. So I was just asking it like by using like, for example, and this is just like I was like trying to find like this direction, like reusable KYC on chain or certificates, like like in the technology itself that could help to protect privacy right, but at the same time like be more impactful when we fight like money laundering. Because maybe due to all the experience and all the network that you have seen the industry trying to find different ways, right? But I know it's not an easy question. I don't even have the answer.
Look, okay, I got it. Let me put it this way. Currently, what we do is more than sufficient, Mariana. You know what we have a problem with worldwide? Enforcement.
Yeah, again.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
are coming back to that point.
I've shared something with you yesterday, sorry, Nina, about the article. Remember?
Yes, absolutely.
I sent this in 6 years ago. It just got into news.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, that's not okay. You found a instance of a potential suspicious activity or a troublesome illicit actor, you need to take action. So we do have this analytics. We do have these actionable intelligence. The compliance officers, right? We give this intelligence to the individuals that technically need to go catch the criminal, break doors, shoot. I don't know what they do. They just don't know how to do that yet. Or there
I
are no mechanisms yet created in order for it to be effective. So I'll find a problematic case. Let's be very easy. Let's not talk about just money laundering, okay? I would talk about general financial crime. Child abuse material is one of them, okay? Back in the day, I have found this very big, massive, organized crime ring, send it to the law enforcement globally, said, okay, I'm very hyped. My report was like 400 to 600 pages at a time, I remember. With all this actionable intelligence, I'm very hyped that this is going to be stopped. The law enforcement agencies came back to me and said, Tigran, we're not shutting it down. I was like, why? Well, we get so much intelligence from all these places that we want to just collect that intelligence. Okay,
mm,
so, like, what's going on, man? No, this is wrong. Just go shut it down. It's not okay. No, that's not right. Okay, so this is what is happening, and unless we do have mechanisms in place where the proper enforcement is in place, quick enforcement, good enforcement, tough rules to them, right? Not to the reporting entities that need to constantly checkmark regulatory obligations, collecting so much data that needs to be sitting for years and doing nothing. I do believe we should not be introducing new techniques to catch it, because this needs to be adopted first.
okay. I think that very, very valid final remarks.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you very much for sharing your insights, Tigran. This was really interesting. I learned a lot about Canada, and yeah, maybe somebody got interested in considering Canada as their new business home. So thank you very much. Mariana, final words?
I think that like, you both did a great job with the final word. So I'm just going to say that this is the first session that we are going to do of a series of webinars where we are going to talk to different experts about different topics in their jurisdictions. As I said, we are going to start with anti-money laundering regulations to just like try to see what's happening in each of those countries and see how aligned we are globally. So thank you everyone for watching, and thank you Tigran again for being our first speaker and also for the support during the series.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting. You guys have a great day.
Thank you. Ciao.